What's going on YouTube? It's Blake back for another video, and today I just said I was going to make this video 2 days ago. It's going to be my next video. I'm going to be talking about what does it take to achieve a 500-pound bench press. Now, if you haven't watched that video that I posted a couple days ago, how achievable is a natural 500-pound bench press, right up here, I recommend you go back, watch that video before watching this one. Everything will make a lot more sense. Now, in this video, I'm basically going to be explaining what it takes to bench 500 pounds, period. Natural, unnatural, whatever. It doesn't matter. You could, how big you are, how small you are. I'm just going to say what it takes. You know what I'm saying? Obviously, for some people, it's going to take more. Obviously, for some people, it's going to take less, depending on your body size, your natural status, whatever else. But regardless, 500 pounds bench is a very hard number to get to. It doesn't matter who you are, it is a hard number. To start off with the first thing on what it takes to bench 500 pounds, it's obviously going to take time. And now this time can't be, I've been going to the gym for 8 years on and off time. No, it needs to be for the past 8 years of my life, I have dedicated to reaching this achievement. For me, I believe it took 6 years, 5 years, something like that, to reach such an achievement. And I believe very few amount of people could get it in 5 to 6 years, from going from 135 to 500. I believe it would take a lot more time for the average person to get to a 500-pound bench. Now, this time at the gym needs to be spent progressing. You cannot be at the gym for 8 years and not be progressing. This needs to be 8 solid years of time, 6 to 8 solid years of time, even 5, even 4. If you can somehow achieve it in 4 years, it needs to be 4 years of grind. You need to be going up. Now, the next thing that I'm going to talk about on what it takes to get to a 500-pound bench is it takes a mentality like none other, right? So not only are you going to have to give this time, you're going to have to keep grinding, you're going to have to keep going and keep going. You're going to have to accept that along this journey, there is going to be, for me, there was 3 or 4 times where I had fallen backwards in progress. Not a little bit, not I'm weaker today, I'm weaker this month, I'm weaker these 3 months, I'm weaker these 4 months. For me, it was hardest my junior year when I got out of football. I had definitely been set back 3 months. I was 3 months weaker, and especially on deadlift, I noticed that. On bench, the hit wasn't that big, but the hit was definitely there. I was definitely on bench 2 months weaker than before the football season, and that really crushed me, that I was... That has to be the closest I've ever been to just not being confident in myself, not even quitting, because I knew I was going to get it back, but just the closest I've ever been to just not believing in myself was that moment right there. You need to have a mentality to bench 500 pounds that is so like, I'm just never going to give up. It needs to be, I'm literally never going to give up. I could break my arm and I'm going to be back as soon as the doctor clears me type of mentality. You know what I'm saying? You need to just be fearless when it comes to trying to achieve a 500-pound bench press. The next thing that I'm going to say what it takes is it needs to take good training. Right now, there's many different people that will tell you this is what good training is. I'm not going to say there's one right way to train, and there definitely isn't. But it's going to take good training, right? If you train heavy all the time, you better hope you don't get hurt. If you get hurt, man, that's going to push you backward. You better hope that you don't run into a big plateau with the way you're training because you've been training this way too much. You need to just be able to find a training method that works for you and grow on it. It doesn't matter what it is, but you just need to keep pushing. It is literally like a mountain of gravel. Picture this. So it's a mountain of gravel, a mountain of mulch, whatever you think it is. Literally a mountain, a 5-year mountain of mulch. And you got one little shovel. All you're going to be doing is just scooping at this mountain of mulch. And eventually, you're going to scoop your way through it. But if you take one scoop too low, the mulch is going to fall on top of you. You're going to have to find your way back out so you can start scooping again. It's the exact same thing with bench pressing. So on top of your good training, this kind of goes along with it, you need good people to train with. I believe there's very few people out there who have benched 500 pounds with almost no support. I believe almost every person who's ever benched 500 pounds ever has had a very large amount of support, has had a training partner, has had good spotters, has everything else, you know what I'm saying? Because 500 pounds becomes a weight that is so crazy to the average person, especially for a bench, so mind-blowing that it's almost something that you can't achieve alone. For me, I'd give a big shout out to my friend Nick McElroy and Yanni for just pushing me harder every single day. And that's what you need to do when you're trying to achieve such an insane lift like this. You need to just never quit. You cannot quit. You just need to keep going. And those days that you're going to quit, you need that person right there with you that's going to be in your ear saying, now you got more. You got more. Or even if it's a lighter day, you need that person in your ear saying, don't get sloppy because it's a lighter day. Don't be sloppy. You need to lock in. You know, you have a bad day. You need that person in your ear saying, get back up. So now I'm going to break down where we're at to this point. So, right, you need time. You need a mentality. You need people around you. You need a good program. You need to try not to get hurt. But once you accomplish these 5 steps, are you at a 500-pound bench or not? And the simple answer to that is for most people, these 5 steps won't take them to a 500-pound bench. So then you have to add up the second hand. There's more steps on the second hand that isn't well said to everybody that's ever benched 500 pounds, but they are out there, right? So the first one I'm gonna put my finger out for is a lot of people will take performance enhancing drugs to get to this bench press. Now, me, myself, I did it naturally, and I'm super proud of it. I'm also closing in, I'm pausing it raw, naturally. I'm closing it really soon on doing that. But for a lot of people, a 500-pound bench is not naturally possible for them, especially smaller guys, you know what I'm saying? If they're trying to bench 500 pounds, a lot of them will need to take something to get to that goal. And I'm definitely not going to sit here and glorify it because the side effects that come with that is crazy. I would never recommend anybody to go on steroids unless that is really what you wanted to do. But even still, it wouldn't be my recommendation for you. Now back to the topic. So some people may need the steroids. Another option for a lot of people is gaining weight. You need to be big to bench 500 pounds. I'm sorry. There's very, very few people that have benched 500 pounds at 150 pounds. You know what I'm saying? I don't even know if there is any. I bet there's 1 or 2 out there. Maybe a few that have done it at 181. Probably a bit more at 198. But really, if you really want to bench 500 pounds, I say, like I said in the last video, the ideal build for a 500-pound bench, I'd say is 6'1", 280 pounds. I'd say that's the ideal build. For me, I'm smaller than the ideal build. I'm only 240 pounds and 6 feet tall. But still, I would say if you're trying to push that 500-pound bench, a lot of people would need to gain weight. And I definitely did it myself. I took a bulk very seriously. I went from 200 pounds to 220 pounds. When I got to that 220 pounds, I went a little bit down to like 215-ish. And I said, I'm trying to get really freaking strong. So I put on a ton of weight. I got up to 245. When I hit that bench, I was standing about 237, I believe, 235 maybe. I was actually a little bit lighter, but I still needed to put on that weight. Now, the next thing that I'm going to cover, you know, I did my bench press at Lifetime Fitness, you know what I'm saying? I don't even know how I went back to try to bench on that pad. It just really didn't feel good for me. But for a lot of people to bench 500 pounds, you need the correct equipment. I've seen a handful of people bench 500 pounds at commercial gyms, right? Like the way I've done it. But honestly, most commercial gyms are not equipped with the ideal conditions to bench 500 pounds. For a lot of people, that means getting into a powerlifting gym. That means getting out of your local gym, you know, and maybe having to drive a little bit so you can train on some better equipment that may help your bench press progression. Now, these last 2 items that I'm going to bring up right now are probably the most controversial when it comes to bench pressing, probably even more controversial than steroid use. So the first one being, what equipment are you going to wear for 500-pound bench, right? For me, I did it in the elbow reps. So many people argue that doesn't work. Sorry, not that it doesn't work, but that it doesn't count. I would argue, yes, it doesn't count in competition standard, but if you bench 500 pounds and all you have is small elbow reps on your elbows, I would still believe that you bench 500 pounds. Now, slingshot or a bunch of other, like, full suit, I would argue that's not really a 500-pound raw press, you know what I'm saying? That's an equipped bench, and that's great for people who do that. I know a ton of guys that bench their equipment. I think that stuff's super cool, but to me, that's just not a 500-pound bench, really. It's a 500-pound equipped bench, not a 500-pound raw bench. When you say bench, in my opinion, you're implying that the bench press is raw. Now, the second thing, probably the most controversial out of all bench presses, is your butt going to be on the pad or off of the pad. Now, a lot of people said with me that it looked like my butt raised off the pad, and I'll tell you right now, my butt stayed on that bench the whole entire time when I hit that 500-pound press. You can zoom in. You can see, just because I drove with my legs a little bit, it looks like my hips did like one of these, but my butt was still on the pad the whole time. There's many ways to manipulate a bench press form, and this is also kind of the last thing, manipulating the bench press form. You could bench 500 pounds and throw your hips through the ceiling, make it a decline 500. To me, I could say that you still bench 500 pounds, honestly, because if you're just doing it for yourself, while it's not competition standard, but if you're just doing it for yourself to bench 500 pounds and you do something like that, I would say that you could go around telling people that you bench 500 pounds. Now, if you're a powerlifting meet, I probably wouldn't recommend you walk around, "What's up, pal? How much you bench press?" "Yeah, buddy, I bench 500 pounds. I wouldn't recommend that you walk around powerlifting meet saying that you bench 500 pounds if it really wasn't competition standard. But if it's personal goal, I'd say you could do just about whatever it takes to get there. That's going to wrap up the video today, guys. Let me know in the comments what you want to see next. Let me know in the comments what you think about this. I do believe that all 10 of these I talked about are very real topics, and it is what it takes for a lot of people to get to this bench. I'd say the first 5 are almost undeniable, and then the last 5, you can do a 500-pound bench without including some of them. You know what I'm saying? But go ahead, like, comment, subscribe. I'm out.